Hello everyone and welcome back for some more Drag Race gossip, secrets and drama. So I'm back for another Roscoe's recap, and this viewing party was for All Stars 11 episode 10, and the guests this week were Kennedie Davenport and Akira C. Davenport. So today we're going to be talking about Kennedie Davenport calls out Michelle Visage and blames her for an unedited critique that landed Kennedie in the bottom. Kennedie shades Jasmine Kennedie for being messy and scheming behind her back on set. And Akira C. Davenport exposes her feud with Silky Nutmeg Ganache and addresses the rumours of what happened. All that and more coming up in today's video, so let's get started. Also, if you like these videos, please hit that subscribe button. It's a free and quick way to support the channel and it really does make a big difference. Thank you! So they started out by explaining that Akira was running late, so she would join them later. Neyra then asked Kennedie how long they gave her to prepare for the semi-finals, given that she was in the last bracket. Kennedie said it was maybe a couple of weeks in between because what production did was they made all of the queens prepare for everything in advance, so they all had a week or two off, then came back. But Kennedie said, quote, I was ready. Neyra then went back to the first episode of Kennedie's bracket because there was a bit where all of the queens were reading each other and Kennedie was just staring at everyone. So Neyra asked what was going through Kennedie's mind at that moment. Was it, quote, what the F am I doing with these B words? Or was Kennedie excited about her bracket? Kennedie joked, quote, y'all know I got a resting B-word face. So she said she definitely was not thinking that because honestly it was a great group of girls, apart from, quote, Jasmine talking too mother effing much, and everyone laughed. Kennedie also said she thinks All Stars took a note from Canada versus the World because on Canada, they gave the queens everything and all the tools they needed to be their best, and then coming back for this All Stars, Kennedie said it was the same. Carmel then said they could tell Kennedie came ready to play, but how prepared was she for the NVQ points twist and also the Rater Queen twist which was added to this episode, because now it's in the hands of the queens who will be in the bottom rather than the judges. Kennedie said she didn't really care for it because when you go in as a seasoned veteran of Drag Race, the queens hold you at a certain standard, and they thought of Kennedie as a threat. Kennedie said she told the girls, quote, I already know y'all not going to give me nothing. Cara said that with the Rater Queens twist, it feels like maybe Kennedie, Akira and Crystal are the only three who would play an honest game, and everyone else would use it as a way to put the strong queens in the bottom. Kennedie agreed and said, you can see Jasmine, quote, already fishing and being messy. Kennedie revealed that she had actually texted Jasmine after the third episode of their bracket saying, quote, oh B-word, you did that. Because when Kennedie was up on stage, she couldn't hear what was going on with the other queens scheming to pool their points to try and get them to tie with Sam. And so she didn't know the whole time that Jasmine was plotting and scheming. They watched more of this week's episode, particularly when the queens were talking about a Bracket 3 alliance, but Kennedie was not included in that conversation. They came back after the commercial break, and Neyra said during the episode, Kennedie said she wanted to read Jasmine, so they're going to pause so Kennedie can say what she wants to say. Kennedie said that she hates, quote, messy ass B words, and at this point, Jasmine is being messy. Kennedie explained that the Davenports do not have time to be talking about other queens. When she and Akira were sat together in the workroom, they were just catching up with each other and getting their lives in order, not strategizing. Because, quote, we were Davenporting, but we was not Davenporting about you, B-word. We don't see y'all as a threat. Kennedie then jokingly called Jasmine a, quote, cackling ass hen looking B-word and said she wants Jasmine to see this video so she can text her. Kennedie added that sometimes Jasmine just talks too much and she's attention seeking and a, quote, pick me ass B word, and it rubs Kennedie the wrong way because she said that Jasmine presents herself differently when the cameras are not rolling. However, Kennedie said she was not mad at Jasmine and she does love Jasmine, she was just speaking her mind. They then moved on and talked more about the challenge for this week, where the queens had to tell stories from their lives. Kennedie revealed that the instructions they were given was to tell a story and they wanted it to be funny, but according to Kennedie, quote, nobody was effing funny but Joey. Neyra agreed and thought Joey was hilarious. Cara loved that Joey used a prop and hoped that the other queens also got to use props as well. Kennedie confirmed that they did have free range to set it up however they wanted, and they could ask for props if they wanted them. Neyra then asked Kennedie what her biggest challenge was with this challenge. Kennedie said she was actually very confident going into the challenge because she loves talking on the mic and hosting, so she felt very comfortable. But according to Kennedie, her problem was Michelle Visage because Michelle was the first person to speak during her critiques. Kennedie said, quote, what you're not going to see, they're not going to air it, but she, as in Michelle, was the one who started the narrative change. She changed my narrative of my story to child abuse. Presumably this is because Kennedie's story for the challenge was about her getting into trouble at school when she was a child and then getting hit with a paddle and also a belt. Kennedie added that once Michelle said that critique about child abuse, quote, everybody jumped on board and it went downhill from the judges. According to Kennedie, the only judges who had positive things to say were Ru and the guest judge, and they didn't even air what they said. Neyra also brought up that in the episode, they left in the bit after Kennedie's performance when Michelle said, quote, well, now I'm depressed. Kennedie responded saying, quote, yeah, you depressed, but you from Jersey, B-word, and I know you seen a mother like that walking to school. Kennedie added that Michelle is older than her, so when she went to school, paddling was still a thing. Kennedie explained that her intention with that story was to put the emphasis on the look of the mother, because back when she was in school, all the children would talk about everyone's mama who walked in looking like they just got out of bed. And if the mama saw them laughing, she would say, quote, what you laughing at, you'll get some too. Kennedie said the story was completely true and organic and, quote, that principal did put me over her little ass knee and whooped my ass with a paddle, a ping pong paddle. Kennedie explained that she's an organic person, so if she tried to tell a lie just to get through the challenge, it wouldn't come out right, so she told a real story. Neyra agreed and said, you can't take your own experience and turn it into Kennedie's, because at that point, you're invalidating her experience. It's Kennedie's story to tell, and if she finds comedy in it and that's her way to relieve herself from that trauma, then she's giving you permission to laugh. Neyra compared it to comedians talking about death. Nobody finds their dad's death funny, but a comedian might find a way to deliver it in a way that's funny and find relief for that. Kennedie then added that the guest judge, the comedian, had actually complimented her on her eye contact with the judges and her sisters and her ability to utilise the stage, but none of that was aired. However, Kennedie did say she's not mad at the edit because she expected worse, and, quote, they did me well with the edit, but they also left out that there were funny moments. Batty then made a point, which was that Silky's story was also about getting whooped, but the judges liked her story. So what was different about Silky's story compared to Kennedie's? And why did Michelle give that critique about being depressed to Kennedie but not Silky? Someone in the audience shouted out, quote, production, and someone else said favoritism. Batty said the two stories were very similar in their inspiration, and she thought Kennedie's was great, so she doesn't understand why Kennedie got that negative critique, but Silky didn't. Kennedie then said, quote, that's why I said it was Michelle's effing fault. Kennedie also spilled that the laughing you hear in the background during the performances was not like that in real life. Kennedie said, quote, where is all these laughs coming from? Because it was quiet as a mother effer in there. And it wasn't just for Silky's story. Kennedie said it was for all of them, and apparently the only one who got actual laughs from Ru and the Queens was Joey J. Kennedie also said they're not going to show it, but she thinks what prevented Joey from winning the challenge was that the judges did not like the fact that she was reading from cue cards. A'keria then arrived at Roscoe's, and because she'd had quite a day and got there late, Neyra explained that they had a mirror on stage, so A'keria was going to paint and get ready while on stage. They then watched the lip sync between the bottom two, which was Kennedie and A'keria, and the crowd went wild, and Neyra had to get them to pause the episode. Neyra then said, quote, I think we have a new greatest lip sync of all time. Baby, that was a masterclass in lip sync. A'keria then got quite emotional talking about the lip sync. She said that for years, Kennedie has always been her aunt and somebody she aspires to be like on stage. So being on stage next to Kennedie to deliver that moment was, quote, always going to be groundbreaking, and it's an honour to stand beside her, win, lose or draw. And the audience clapped and cheered for both of them. They then watched Untucked, and A'keria revealed that before Untucked, she went up to Kennedie and said, quote, B-word, you might as well get ready because I feel like they're going to put us in the bottom together tonight. And Kennedie said they were already talking about it because they knew who was going to be in the bottom. Kennedie explained that you come into the competition wanting to win, but also knowing how it's probably going to go, so you learn your lip syncs and you just have to be ready for whatever is thrown at you. Kennedie also said if anyone was going to send her home, it was going to be A'keria because, quote, this is my real family right here, this will never ever change. They then asked Kennedie if she wanted to touch on what they had just watched in the episode, and also in Untucked, when the queens were talking about how they were voting in the Raider Queen to decide which queens would be in the bottom. Kennedie said watching it back, quote, it's just a lot of effing fake bleep, and she would tell the girls that to their faces and in the group chat too. Kennedie added that the queens were saying, quote, oh, I hope I'm not in the bottom, but that was all fake, because sometimes you've just got to be honest and play the game like it's being played, and stop playing in people's faces. Kennedie explained she wasn't mad at the time, and her emotions now are only because she's seeing things in the episode that she did not hear when she was on set. After the critiques, Kennedie said she already had accepted what was coming because, quote, that's all they needed was an excuse to put me in the bottom. They did not want me there. They was not ready to compete against me. A'keria added that she also already knew going into Untucked that she was going to be in the bottom, just from the tension in the workroom between her and Silky. According to A'keria, Silky had already gathered up her girls, and they had already started talking, so it was obvious. So A'keria knew she did not have a fighting chance regardless, and had mentally prepared herself. But A'keria said she would have accepted the girls putting her in the bottom if they had just stood on why they did it, instead of the excuses they gave. A'keria said, quote, I can respect you so much more had you said I put you in the bottom because I don't F with you, because at that point I have no choice but to respect you because that's your truth. Kennedie agreed and brought up Silky's excuse in Untucked when Silky said that she ranked A'keria low because of pageants. Kennedie said in that moment she just wanted to say, quote, B-word, shut the F up, because no one wanted to hear all of that. But Kennedie was clear that she did not choose sides, and she genuinely did not know what was going on between A'keria and Silky and their previous feud that was mentioned in the episode. A'keria said she also tried to not make the feud a thing on TV. From day one, anytime she got questions about it, she went around the question because, quote, "I'm here to compete, I'm not here to make a beef on television." But A'keria said now that it's been made a thing, quote, "It's like, okay, I see the game now." Kennedie added that watching Silky in Untucked, quote, "She's just being effing fake the whole time, like even by herself." Kennedie explained that that's not the Silky she knows or the Silky she sees entertaining, because Kennedie has her own personal relationship with Silky outside of whatever is going on between Silky and A'keria. But Kennedie did not see any of the Silky she knows in her bracket or in the semi-finals. A'keria then said a lot of the queens did things just to make good TV, but then after the show started airing, quote, "You get your inboxes with apologies. So now you basically admitted that you knew what you were doing in the competition, now you want to apologize and save face. That's why I keep those receipts." Kennedie added that sometimes the queens do it unintentionally, and then when it's brought to their attention, they say they didn't mean it that way. They moved on, and A'keria pointed out that you could tell nobody else was dressed to lip sync to the song because everyone knew that Kennedie and A'keria were going to be put in the bottom. And Kennedie agreed that nobody was prepared to lip sync to that song, which is why she keeps talking about fakeness and the queens scheming, because some of the queens were still saying to camera that they didn't want to see Kennedie in the bottom, even though they knew they voted for her to be in the bottom. Batty mentioned that it was Kennedie's bracket three sisters who were talking about the alliance, and Kennedie said they were talking about the alliance in this episode, but nobody came to Kennedie about any kind of alliance at all. But during their original bracket, the queens had actually discussed having a bracket 3 alliance when they went through to the semis. But Kennedie said that just goes to show that she was never in the alliance from the beginning, and Kennedie thinks that's why they did not show the alliance discussion during her bracket. They then moved on to the Q&A, and they had a video question from Mistress Isabel Brooks. Mistress's first question was for Kennedie, which was, what is in your seasoning that makes it so salty that no one wants to eat your food? And everyone laughed. Just to quickly explain the background of this in case you don't know, a few weeks ago, Jorgeous was the guest on the pit stop, and Bianca Del Rio asked Jorgeous about Kennedie's cooking, and Jorgeous said that Kennedie uses too much salt.
What do you think is in this seasoning?
Girl, a whole bunch of salt, bitch. Bitch, I swear to God. Bitch, I can't even fit in my strap shoes the next day. Tell me why she made Thanksgiving dinner, right, at Coco's house. Coco was nowhere to be seen. But she made this turkey, bitch. Oh, my God.
Was it good?
It was good, but I'm like, this is salty. She said, Kennedie made a Marie Callender's pie. She was like, I added my own special twist to it. I'm like, girl, it's burnt. Was that the special twist?
This clip went viral on social media at the time, and Kennedie tweeted about it saying, anything for a laugh. If it was salty, she still sat there and ate it, and it more than once. I'm confused. That B word knows I get offended talking about my food. She could have kept her non-cooking ass at the house and starved. Airhead, LOL, B word. And in another tweet where someone asked Kennedie why she was reacting this way, Kennedie said, because I didn't find it funny when I invite people at my table to only get talked about and it not be to my face. So you sit the F down somewhere and mind your business and don't tell me how the F to feel. I don't give a damn how I look, punk. There was also a bit more to this story, but it will take too long to go into it all, so I'll probably include it in the bonus content which I'll post on my Patreon and also for my YouTube members. And if you are interested in joining to get the extra content plus other benefits like early access, check out the links in the description. Then going on to Mistress's second question, which was for A'keria, and the question was, what was the brand of TV that Silky Nutmeg Ganache stole from you? So, was it a Roku TV or was it an Apple TV? The fans want to know. Just to quickly explain the backstory of this, I have mentioned this in a previous video, but A'keria and Silky have been feuding for over a year, and they had some kind of falling out. Back in June 2025, A'keria posted several tweets where she called Silky a thief, and she also accused Silky of stealing a TV from her house. A'keria also posted screenshots of text messages between her and Silky where they were beefing. There also seemed to be some chatter online at the time, with people saying that A'keria claimed that Silky stole an Apple TV, but Apple does not make actual TVs, they just make Apple TV boxes, which is for their streaming service. So some people were confused what A'keria was claiming Silky stole. This was presumably why Mistress's question was about what type of TV it was. And if you want to hear more about the feud between A'keria and Silky to do with the TV, I'll link to my previous video in the description where I went through it in more detail. Going back to Roscoe's, Neyra said Mistress's question sets A'keria up respectively to address the situation with Silky if she wants to, because she can control the narrative if she does it at Roscoe's, whereas on Drag Race she can't control the edit. A'keria said, quote, "Well, let's be very clear, it's not about a TV. The TV was the straw that broke the camel's back." A'keria explained that after the situation between her and Silky took place, she went completely silent for a year because she had hopes that they could mend their friendship. And she didn't want to say anything negative publicly because if they became friends again, she didn't want it to look like she had been lashing out. So she stayed quiet for that whole year, even after hearing a bunch of negative things Silky had apparently been saying about her. But after that year, A'keria went to collect her things and the TV situation happened. A'keria said at that point it was like, quote, "Okay B-word, I took too many licks at this point, now I'm spazzing." So the TV was just the final straw, and A'keria said she has all of the receipts. A'keria explained the one person who has still never faced her to give her the truth is the person she has an issue with, and although she didn't say the name, she clearly meant Silky. A'keria then said, her thing is, if they were ever truly really friends, why could Silky not come to her? They were literally across the workroom from each other, and Silky had every opportunity within that year and when they filmed, and it didn't even need to be on TV. A'keria revealed that there were many moments where she reached out to Silky by text message, asking if they could resolve this in private, and A'keria even went as far as reaching out to Silky's biological mother because she never wanted their friendship to end. A'keria said, quote, "A lot of people make fun of the situation of it being a TV, but it was deeper than a TV. I lost a friend. I lost someone I never thought would be in this place." And A'keria finished by saying that the TV is replaceable, but, quote, "some bonds and some friendship you could never get back, and to lose one and not know why it's lost is the most hurtful thing you can ever experience." And as I always say in my videos, please do not send hate to any of the queens, and just consume this type of content responsibly without getting involved. So there you go, there was the Roscoe's recap for All Stars 11 episode 10. Do you think the bottom two and the elimination this week were fair? And who do you think is ultimately going to win the season? Let me know in the comments. If you'd like to get things like early access, exclusive content, as well as many other benefits like priority to have your comments featured in my videos, you can check out either my Patreon, which is my main platform, or for a more convenient option if you want, you can also join my YouTube membership by clicking the join button under any of my videos. And there'll be links to both of those things in the description. I'd also like to say thank you so much to my amazing Patreon members. You are absolutely incredible. Your support truly does keep this channel going, and you have no idea how grateful I am to all of you. So honestly, thank you so, so much. Please make sure you like and comment on this video because it does help to boost it in the algorithm and promote it to even more people. And please make sure you do your big one and smash that subscribe button because it does make a big difference. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you'll join me in the future for some more Drag Race gossip, secrets, and drama. Thank you so much. Bye.